Hello, everybody. My name is Kaz. I am an Egonodo guy. I'm Egonodo guy. Today, I would like to talk about how in Japan scholars of linguistics are explaining how to listen to English in a very weird way. They are the scholars with master's degree in linguistics or studies related to speech, sounds, and their advice for Japanese learners of English to listen better is to focus on words that are pronounced strongly. In their mind, they think you have to pronounce verbs, nouns, adjectives strongly. On the other hand, in their mind, they think you have to say, let's see, articles like the, or 助動詞 like can or must, and did I already say and? They think these words of this type of function should be pronounced softly. So as a result, I guess you have to speak like this. You can speak like this, and let's see. Hold on a second. I have the book right here. Okay. It's really a lot about how to read words with stress or with no stress. They think that words to be stressed have strong meanings, and they say oh, well, I'm not going to even read the examples because the authors of this book will feel like they are being attacked, so I'm not going to say anything about the book. But anyways, they are advising Japanese people to listen to words with stress. That's absolutely wrong because you can read words strongly or softly, but the meanings of those words do not change according to the volume of how you say them. It's just a fact. And also, what is this about the or can? They say you have to read these, or you read these kind of softly, or and softly. But I think that's because these words are short. Like, here is an example. When I say un is shorter than the rest of other words in a sentence. So they feel that it is softly spoken. And also they think that it feels a little soft because you have to pronounce really at the deep part of the neck. So it feels a little ambiguous. And something ambiguous feels soft in Japanese, or in their mind. That's how they feel. So they advise to pronounce these words softly. The problem is these scholars quote each other's work to write books. So they write books based on the books their mentors or their friends wrote. So mistakes can get really amplified. It is such an impractical advice to say, okay, you read this one strongly, you read this one softly, because when you are speaking, you don't really know what you're going to say until you really say it. You cannot really decide, okay, I'm going to say, okay, in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to say, I'm going to the bathroom. I can't even think, okay, I'm going to read the verb strongly or to the part weakly, to the bathroom. softly. So it's such an impractical advice. However, the reason why these scholars' explanation sounds plausible or even persuasive for many learners of English in Japan is because when you listen to something, it is true that it feels as if there are strong parts and soft parts, which I think is because of the syllable structure of English. If you say this is, somehow the verb vowels appear a little stronger, like this is. Somehow this part sounds a little weak. So when you listen to English, people feel, oh, there's this weak part, there's this strong part, and they want to come up with a systematic explanation of why that can happen. But really, stress is not so important in English because I can read anything in a way I like. I hope it makes sense. I can say, I hope it makes sense. I can say it that way, or I hope it makes sense. It doesn't matter how I read it, so to speak. Anyway, another problem is that these scholars themselves cannot listen to English and capture sounds. So their imagination kind of goes so wild. They can come up with any theories and explanations, although they tend to repeat the same old story for so many years, so many decades, just because they read something in this book, they quote that in the other book, and this discursive development goes so wild. Also, in this discursive formation, you cannot really say anything new, and if you want to say something new, you have to be always quoting from foreigners' writing somehow. But my advice is you should just try Eigo Nodo and become able to listen and understand English better. That's my advice. Then the whole English language begins to sound very differently to you. You know, English doesn't really depend on volume to create meanings. Maybe it does in terms of emotion, but the meanings, original literal meanings, do not change. If I say coffee, they are still the same coffee. Or coffee doesn't make much difference to the original meaning of coffee. In Japanese, on the other hand, there's some sense of how the word's meaning, the meaning of a word may change a little bit by the pitch, like hashi. It's not really the stress, but it's really the pitch. But somehow I think Japanese scholars of English are a little disoriented and confused about the notion of stress and pitch. And just because in Japanese, pitch affects the meaning, and pitch feels a little bit like stress. So that's where the scholars of English in Japan are a little confused. Just because pitch is kind of associated with change of volume a little bit, maybe, it feels like that. And just because pitch is important in Japanese, they just decide that even in English, somehow pitch or stress becomes important. But I hope you can tell by the way I speak, but the stress is not really affecting, it's not going to change any meaning of a word. Then Japanese scholars of sounds will say, what if a pair of words such as record and record? I bought a record and I recorded this thing. But in this case, it's not the difference of pitch per se, but it's the difference of pronunciation. Like, I recorded. I bought a record. record, 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 record. Pronunciations are different. It's not really so much about the pitch change. Anyways, this last example is so impossible to communicate to scholars of sounds, so I'm not going to even attempt. Yeah, it's going to take another occasion. Anyway, that's all.